All right, today we're going to talk about a super cool fundamental rule of the universe. Seriously, it's this invisible superpower that explains everything from why a soccer ball just sits there to how a rocket flies through space. It's all about why things move, and maybe more importantly, why they don't. I mean, have you ever really truly stopped to think about it? A soccer ball will just sit on the grass for hours, maybe even days, without moving an inch. It never just decides to roll away on its own. And the reason for that, which seems so obvious, is actually one of the most important laws in all of physics. So let's break this down into two parts. First up is the part of this law that feels really intuitive, the part we see every single day. We're going to call it the stay still rule, and it's all about the stubbornness of things that aren't moving. At its heart, the rule is just that simple. An object that's at rest, like our soccer ball or a book on a table, or even you just sitting on the couch, it has this natural tendency to just stay at rest. It's not going to spontaneously get up and move. But of course, that's not the whole story, right? As you can see here, an object will stay put only until something from the outside comes along and messes with it. A kick from your foot, a strong gust of wind, even a curious dog nudging it. That changes everything. But without that outside interference, it's just not going anywhere. Now, this idea might sound super simple to us, but it was actually a huge deal. For centuries, people thought that objects naturally wanted to stop moving. But then along came the brilliant Sir Isaac Newton, and he realized the exact opposite was true. He took this everyday observation and turned it into the foundation for how we understand all motion. And here it is, the official rule in all its glory, Newton's first law of motion. Now, notice it has two parts. The first part is stay at rest, which we just talked about. But then there's this other part, keep moving in a straight line. We're going to get to that in just a second. The absolute key phrase here, though, is unless an external force acts on it. That is the secret ingredient to everything. This law is so important, it even got its own cool nickname, the Law of Inertia. Honestly, you can think of inertia as just a fancy science word for laziness. It's just an object's tendency to resist changing what it's already doing. If it's resting, it wants to keep resting. And if it's moving, well, that brings us to the next part. Okay, so let's get into the second half of the law. This is the part that can feel a little less obvious, a little weird at first. This is where we figure out what happens once something is already moving. So I want you to picture a rocket coasting through deep space where there's nothing around. Its engines are turned off. According to Newton, that rocket is going to keep moving in a perfectly straight line at the exact same speed forever. Unless, of course, something else acts on it. This slide really shows you how they're just two sides of the same coin. This is all inertia. On one side, you have the object at rest that resists being moved at all, and on the other, you have the object in motion that will just keep going and going until something forces it to stop or change direction. And right about now, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. If a moving object wants to keep moving, why does that soccer ball I kicked across the field always slow down and stop? Did Newton get something wrong here? Not at all. In fact, this is the best part. This is where we come back to that super important unless clause we talked about. The ball absolutely wants to keep going forever, but something is getting in its way. There's an invisible force hard at work. So let's look at this idea of an external force again. It's really just any push or pull from the outside. A kick is a force that starts the motion, hitting a brick wall is a force that definitely stops it, and that invisible force that slowly brings our soccer ball to a halt, well, that's called friction. So let's trace its journey. You kick the ball and it's rolling along happily because of inertia. But as it rolls, every single blade of grass is rubbing against it, creating this little backward push. That push is friction, and that is the external force that slowly drains the ball's motion until it finally comes to a complete stop. And that's the whole secret. Newton's law is 100% correct. The ball didn't just get tired and decide to stop. An external force, in this case, friction, acted on it and forced it to stop. If you were in the vacuum of space with no friction, that ball really would just keep going and going forever. So there you have it. Newton's first law isn't just some abstract thing for scientists. It's about how everything around us works. An object will keep doing what it's doing, whether that's resting or moving, until a force changes it. As you go about your day-to-day, just notice all those forces at play, the push to open a door, the friction that stops your shoes from slipping. The universe is in this constant dance of inertia and force. The only question is, what are you going to set in motion?